Spoiler alert, if you cannot bear this, leave now. Okay, now we are talking about the episode that will be airing after episode 6, I mean since battle with White Walkers has already been done and Jon and company captured a walker, now we will move further. Whatever predictions I have made have come true up to 99%, so beware, these are spoilers. Again, I'm asking you guys, leave now if you don't want to spoil. Okay. Winterfell. Cersei and Euron plan to attack Dragon Queen at parley. When the parley goes nowhere, we attack. Cersei thinks that's a perfect plan, but Jaime refuses to go along with it. Jaime tells Tyrion that Cersei wants a parley between herself and Dany. Davos whispers to Tyrion it might be a trap. But Tyrion agrees to a parley. Jaime says here at the Dragon Pit in a fortnight. Tyrion says yes and no, the parley will be here, but we decide the date. He tells Jaime when the dragons fly over King's Landing they will be behind them. Dragon Pit. Jon is talking with Varys about Lyanna's death. Varys tells him the only one who would know is Howland Reed. Drogon and Rhaegal fly over King's Landing. Qyburn announces there are Targaryen sails in Blackwater Bay. Cersei, Jaime, and Euron are seated inside the Queen's box. Davos, Brienne, Dany, and Missandei enter the Dragon Pit. Tyrion, the Hound and Jorah Mormont are stopped at the gates by Bronn. But Cersei orders them all to come forward. Dany and Cersei argue about who rules Westeros, which goes nowhere, so Cersei turns her attention to Tyrion. Cersei says there will be no peace as that little monster lives. Tyrion says nothing. Cersei offers to pardon Jon Snow for deserting the Night's Watch if he bends the knee. He refuses. Euron asks what Jon has brought in the covered cage. Jon tells him death. Jon starts speech about the long night, the Night King and the White Walkers' return. Euron walks up to Jon and laughs in his face. Dany urges that the Seven Kingdoms must unite or face something worse than death. Cersei tells Dany there will be no parley as long as the talk about White Walkers persist. Jaime walks down from the private box and the doors are shut. The Lannister forces draw their swords and Cersei orders them all to be killed. Tyrion gets in position by the cage and Dany summons Drogon and Rhaegal. As the fighting begins, Jaime has the dragon gun, Qyburn build. Jaime manages to wound Rhaegal. Sensing Rhaegal's pain, Jon gives the signal and Tyrion releases the White. The White leaps out of the cage and starts killing everything in sight. Everyone stops in their tracks. The Queen's Guard form ranks around Cersei. No one can stop the White. Cersei orders the Mountain to fight the White. But he can't defeat him. Jon steps forward and stabs the White with dragon glass. The White shatters into 100 pieces. There is nothing but silence in the Dragon Pit. Drogon lands in front of Jaime. Tyrion, knowing what's about to happen, runs to protect Jaime. Tyrion urging Dany to stop, but Dany does not listen. She sets Dracarys to Drogon. She is about to burn Tyrion and Jaime alive. Jon steps in between Dragon and Jaime and Tyrion. Jon gains control of the dragon, while Jaime and Tyrion get to safety. Drogon flies off and Jon gives a speech about if they lose, they will face the true hell, a eternity of living death without rest. Euron asks Jon if those needs can swim. Jon tells him no. So Euron says he's going back to Pike. Cersei and Tyrion make a parley, in return for the Lannister army. Jon can remain king in the north, but only if Dany remains at Winterfell. Jon and Tyrion accept the terms. Red Keep. Jaime meets with Cersei. Jaime informs Cersei that his troops are mobilizing from the Lannister barracks outside the Dragon's Gate. Cersei says no, our army won't be traveling north. She says the North are fighting an army they cannot defeat. Cersei also says she hopes the army of the dead wins. Jaime is furious, he tells her if that happens the Night King will come south. Cersei knows, when the army of the dead comes south she will lure them into King's Landing and set off the remaining wildfire. Then she says her and Jaime will rule from Casterly Rock. Jaime tells her no, he will ride north with Jon Snow. Cersei yells at him, you know if you ride north you will die. Jaime says nothing and walks out leaving Cersei crying. Lannister barracks outside the Dragon Gate. Jaime with Bronn at his side comes into the barracks. His captains are giving him reports on supplies. He then announces on the Queen's orders they won't be going north. There is complete silence, until Jaime says he will go alone. One of the captains stands up and says he will follow Jaime north, more soldiers volunteer. Jaime orders the captain to continue the preparation for the march north. Red Keep. Cersei sees the entire Lannister army marching out of King's Landing. Qyburn asks if she told Jaime the truth, she replies no. Then she begins to have pain, she collapses and is bleeding. King's Road. Jon asks Tyrion if Cersei was bluffing, Tyrion says maybe but Jaime wasn't, then they see the Lannister banners. Jaime rides up to Jon and says the Lannister forces stand with him. Brienne and Jaime exchange smiles and the group heads north. Theon tells Jon he will stay in King's Landing to await Euron's return. Euron's ship, the Silence. Euron walks below the decks on the Silence. We see Ellaria, Yara, and Aeron Greyjoy imprisoned, along with a warlock from Quoth and a red priest from Volantis. Part 2. Sam and Bran are meeting. He shows Bran the document on Lyanna and Rhaegar's wedding. Bran has a flashback to Lyanna and Rhaegar, with Bran admitting that Jon is Rhaegar and Lyanna's son. We see Littlefinger creeping, he has heard everything. Arya sees Jaqen H'ghar, he tells that she has exposed their secret to most of Westeros and if she plays the revenge game any further she will lose her element of surprise. Sam, Tollett, Tormund and Gendry arrive at Winterfell. Gendry and Arya reunite. Sam is greeted by Sansa. Sansa has called a special meeting. Bran and Arya are not allowed seats at the main table, just Littlefinger, Sansa, and Lord Robin Arryn. Littlefinger begins by announcing his engagement to Sansa. Arya yells at Sansa what else. Littlefinger wants to crown Sansa queen in the north. Littlefinger says he has evidence that Jon is not the son of Ned Stark, but Jon is the son of Rhaegar Targaryen. Sam and Bran exchange looks. Littlefinger calls on Sam Tarly, who Littlefinger says has researched it at the Citadel. Sam confirms it, he shows the document to the other lords, then Littlefinger turns to Bran and says a crippled boy cannot produce any heirs. Littlefinger turns to salute the queen in the north, as do most of the lords. Arya has to be held back by Gendry. Tormund draws his sword at Littlefinger, saying Jon told to kill Littlefinger if he tried anything. Sansa stops Tormund, she says it is time for the real truth. She tells the story about how Littlefinger betrayed Ned, the attempt to kill Bran after he was crippled, how he convinced Lysa to poison Jon Arryn. She turns to Lord Royce and says she lied about Lysa's death. Everyone stands to their feet. Sansa has her back to Littlefinger. He pulls out a dagger and makes a move towards Sansa. Arya rushes to him, she kicks him in the back of the leg, then she takes his dagger, stabbing him in the head, killing him. After the shock, Sansa tells everyone that Jon is the true king and he will lead them into the long night. Targaryen ship en route to White Harbor. Dany is with Yura, they are traveling to White Harbor. Dany talks about losing the Iron Throne at the Dragon Pit, and being forced to marry Jon Snow. Yura mentions Cersei said nothing about marriage. He tells her once the war is over she will return Essos with him. Dany says no, she thinks they will all die in the war. She also thanks Yura for being by her side for all those years. The two kiss and make love. Asai. Melisandre has traveled to Asai to meet with the other high priests and priestesses. She informs them of Jon Snow and Beric Dondarrion's resurrections. And the White Walkers are massing north of the wall, preparing for an attack on Westeros. They order Melisandre back to Westeros to help Jon Snow. She informs them she has been banished from Winterfell. The High Priest rips off her red necklace. We see the old lady Melisandre and she takes her leave and travels to Winterfell. The wall. The army of the dead has reached the wall, thousands of whites begin climbing the wall. The horn sounds 3 times for White Walkers. We see the Night King flying on Viserion. Fade to black. An episode ends.